Right. So I know a major part of the Ikagi system is Ichimoku, amongst other things, but I've seen you say that it's missing some rules, so to speak, and that most traders just kind of figure out how to use Ichimoku by trial and error. So how do you best use Ichi for trade setups, and what are some of the things you believe are missing?
I mean, when I say missing, is because when you go and try to find about the origins or probably when Hosoda wrote the books, and there's a lot of misunderstanding and there's a lot of secrecy around, and as usually it is with these kinds of things. And supposedly, by very good sources that I found, he wrote 6 books, if I'm not mistaken, but only a few of them were ever translated, and they were translated really late. Like he published these books back in the 1930s or 1960s, actually. He spent like 30 years putting together this whole thing. And then it was like until the 80s that the first books were translated to German. And then after like a decade or so, they were translated to English. So supposedly there were a couple books that were missing the translation. There's no way to access those books because they are on a vault in Japan. I don't know if it's by a bank or by a private owner or by the government, but they were never released, and no one knows where they are. They were never translated. So some people, some scholars, and some experts in the matter, they think that there might be some more rules to it, aside for the ones that we know already online, which are like time theory, wave theory, and all those kinds of things. But my opinion, Ichimoku, even without those books, is the best and the strongest indicator that you will ever find. I mean, it's the most complete. Very few indicators can forecast price action to the future. Ichimoku can. And I mean, if you really understand and try to and see how it works and what every line represents, I mean, it's pretty easy to trade, actually. I mean, it doesn't take much. You just need to be patient and understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to let some of the people watching this know now the accuracy of which you have forecasted major pivot dates for BTC. You essentially were able to forecast. This is some of the results from Ikagi, which you had shared on Twitter. And for anybody watching this, I highly suggest you go check out Cryptosays' Ikagi. It's incredible, some of the things that are coming out of it. Essentially called the BTC bottom, the major runs in June, called the LTC top in June 2019, was able to forecast this ETH breakout in the 28th and the top of 358 in June 2019. So that's just a little bit of a snippet of what's possible with this Ikagi, waves and particles, Gann pivots, Ichimoku. Show us how you use some of this in conjunction, or at least with the Ichimoku, how you're able to do some of what you do in terms of trades and looking for trending price action using the Ichimoku.
Absolutely. So basically, I mean, the most basic, and I used to tell this to everyone on Twitter, the great thing about Ichi, I don't want to lose this one because we're gonna talk about it. So let me go with ETH, for example. Not here. All right. The best thing about Ichimoku, it's how easy it is to understand the trends. And that's the most difficult thing people struggle with, because they don't really understand how to read trends. Because let's take something older. I don't know. Let's go with Bitcoin. It's a sure shot.
And very quickly, before you do get into the juice here, one of the biggest questions that I had from people when they knew we were having a chat was just in relation to the settings of Ichimoku, because we have some other people who are quite well known in the space that use these crypto settings, for example. I myself was one of those until I came across your sort of teachings via Twitter, where I use the traditional settings. Why do you use these traditional settings over these crypto settings? Just in a brief.
Absolutely, I'll go there. So let me do that. Actually, the situation with the settings is this one. Hosoda, this is a guy. He spent like I said, he spent 30 years working along several universities in Japan with hundreds of students. Like that's almost a lifetime or half a lifetime at least. And the reason he came up with those settings was after all the time he studied numbers, patterns, he realized how, for example, trends, they used to pivot every 9 days. Whether the pivot is a strong one or it wasn't a strong one, every 9 days, then you should expect something like to turn around. It's the same with on the mark with with the TD indicator when you have like 9 and 13 and stuff like that. So it comes from the same thing. It comes from the same reasoning and mathematical progressions. That actually these numbers, when I was looking and studying Gann and different methods, they have more to do with Fibonacci, with the Fibonacci sequence also than anything else. But of course, you don't know that until you really go deep into the numbers. But you will find that they're family, and they share a lot of the concepts together. So the problem with those numbers is that people say that these are related to the Japanese trading days, which in my opinion doesn't make any sense, because they say like, well, yeah, Japanese days are 7 days and stuff. And I mean, none of this, you have in theory 26 hours and 9 days and stuff like that. So it doesn't have anything to do with the weeks, or if the Japanese traded from Monday to Saturday, or if they traded 9 hours a day. Either way, if they traded from Monday to Saturday, that's 6 days a week. So that's 24 days, not 26. So that reasoning right there is not valid. So that was one of those wrong translations that you can find online. Just to give you a brief summary of the whole Ikagi system, basically, you go deep and you study Gann methods and teachings and ideas, and you go and study Ichimoku and Wyckoff and Elliott waves and all of those, and you strip down the numbers, you go to the core, you start to see a resemblance, and you start to notice a pattern. All of those methods that I studied for a lot of months, one by one, they all share the same family numbers, and that's where things start to fall, to click together. That's where I started to put the dots together and understand that there was something there, because they all shared the same concept, and that's basically what it is. So that's why when people say we should use the crypto settings because the markets are 24 hours, it is flawed by default, because these settings, they don't have anything to do with the trading days or hours of the week.
Yes. So
the only thing that you're getting with double settings in crypto are delay signals. And of course, since you're doubling the settings, of course, the cloud and the lines, they're going to make sense with the price action, because you're just doubling the settings, which means they're the same family numbers, but you're going to get delay signals. And you don't want delay signals because, for example, with the regular numbers, you're getting a signal here around October 19, 2015. But if you double those numbers, probably, or maybe the signal, it's further down in May. And that means that instead of entering here around May 16, then you would be entering here around January. And that would make your entry, instead of being at $400, you're making an entry at $700.
Wow.
So because you have delay settings, and by having delay settings, you will have delay signals. And of course, we don't want that, because as we know, timing is everything when it comes to trading.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So explain to us some of the setups that you look for. Obviously, we've got things like our TK cross and our Kumo twists to sort of start identifying to us where price action might be starting to take place. But what are some of the things that you are looking for when you're trading an asset?
Ichimoku, the best thing that you can do with Ichimoku is to understand the trend. Ichimoku will be the best to tell you if you're trending or if you're ranging. You get a signal like this one when the price, the Tenkan, the Kijin, and the Chiku, they're all above the Kumo. This is a signal, a bull signal. From then on, you will long every single dip until that Chiku gets under the Kumo. So that means that we would enter here at $394 and we would sell here at $5,000. We're not selling the top, but still we're riding a pretty good trend. And the same thing can happen with any other time frame. It's the same all across the time. So in this case, for example, we got a signal for a bear market. The price went under the Kumo. We got a ticket cross, bearish ticket cross. The Chico went under the Kumo, but then promptly the price went back above the Kumo again. So all this action means the market is ranging. This is not a bear signal yet because the price went up above. So the market is in range. And that's like the easiest way that you can, how you can use Ichimoku. Litecoin, for Litecoin, it was a great signal too. Back in, actually USD, back in last year, early last year with this movement here. So easy. You're since October, since our famous creator for Litecoin sold everything, it entered into a bear trend. You see, tries to break above, it can do it. Tries to break above, can do it. So this is all our short opportunities. Short, 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 nothing is different. Here, you get a resemblance of what could be a bottom, but there's nothing confirmed yet. But once we break the Kumo and the Tenkan and the Kijun and the Chiku, that's a bull signal. Not all the time the bull signals mean bull right away. Sometimes you can have the signal and then the price can revisit the lower prices, but usually always it signifies a double bottom or a accumulation. But once you get this signal, you know you're gonna get either a bull or accumulation to then get bull. In this case, we got a bull. You got a bull here, so you enter here at $41, and then you just ride it. Every bounce from the Kijun or the Kumo, you just long, 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 until the Chico gets under that Kumo, because that's a signal for a bear again, and then you sell. So that's $86, and you rode that from 44. So that's a 100% profit, being safe without you needing to catch the bottom or catch the top. And then the same thing happened here. You short here, and then you just let it ride all the way down. Right now, it seems like we might have another bullish breakout. So, but it's not confirmed yet. So if you want to be sure about it, then you just have patience and you wait until that price, the Kijun, the Tenkan, and the Chiku, all of them get out of the Kumo. Once that happens, then probably the bull will resume. And I mean, it cannot get easier than that.
And are you looking for other forms of confirmation? Obviously, you've got your own Ikagi system where you're looking at Gann and waves and particles and pivots and other things as well. But outside of the Ichimoku, are there any other forms of confirmation you're looking for? Are you looking for increases in volume? Are you using other traditional indicators, not traditional indicators, but things like CCI, or looking for divergence? Because are you typically trading on the higher timeframes like this? Are you more of a swing trader than anything else?
No, I tried. I do this for a living. So I do swing, I do scalps, I do everything. Yep. I only do high time frames to understand the trend because of what I told you. Yes. If I know that I'm on a bird trend, and then in the weekly, then when I go to the 4 hour, the only thing that I need to care about is just to find the picks so I can short, because I know we're in a bear trend. And that's it. So all of the time frames, they need to relate to each other. So far as we are right now, I know we're in a bear trend. But of course, this is only with Ichimoku. The Ichimoku is very basic. Like I said, it's only for me to really understand where the trend is at. Because then we get into the Ikagi process with waves and particle. Yes. In which I will use like a set of formulas that I develop from scratch. And then I will use some Gann theory to then forecast dates. I cannot use indicators, and this is something I talk about on Twitter. I cannot use like volume. I cannot use any indicator whatsoever, especially lag indicators, because my technical analysis is a forecasting method. So if I need to forecast what the price is going to be in 1 week or in 3 months, then indicators mean nothing right now. Because I go to the weekly here, for example. So if I go here and I click, I don't know, on the volume, The volume it sucks. It's very low. It's been decreasing for the past few months, but I don't know where the volume is going to be when the price is at March 2021. So the volume could be here or the volume could be here. There's absolutely nothing that suggests what the volume is going to be. So the forecast for this needs to be based on something else. And that something else, they're basically cycles and mathematical progressions and formulas related to the past price action. And everything comes from that. The price, very much like Gann said, the price does this forever and ever and ever. It just never stops. So sometimes the movement is not that obvious. Sometimes it goes like this and then like this, and then you do this, but it just never stops. It always is doing this. So basically, if you understand on which point you are on the trend or the cycle actually, then you can get ahead of yourself and forecast like some of the charts that you saw. For example, this one here, you can see it. This is from when? This is from November. On November, my time cycles from Ikagi told me that there could be a pivot on the weekly candle for January 6th. On the daily, that would be the 9th. And then you click play, and that's exactly what happened. On that candle, on the weekly candle for January 6th, the price reversed. And that doesn't have to do any more with cycles and nothing else.
Yeah, there was some incredible accuracy there. I think if we get a little bit smaller time frame than that as well, you were talking around the 23rd of December or the 22nd of December being a pivot sort of place where we would expect some more price action. Sure enough, it played out. And yesterday, I actually liked it as I was going back looking through all your old Twitter feeds. You posted that cipher pattern, which,
this one.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. Yes. The accuracy on that blew me away. That was phenomenal.
I rarely use patterns because of what I said. I mean, when you forecast for a long time, it's hard to know what pattern the price is going to form. But with this one, I was doing some studies. Basically, I was relating the numerology, the math behind the method that I have to the math that a cipher should have. So I was playing with the dates. I already had this date marked for like from early in the year, from early 2019, I had this date marked already.
Yes.
So when we reach the top here, I figured this was going to be a key level in terms of price and date. I wanted to play. I was like, what if this is a cipher? So I was just playing with some formulas and stuff like that, and I just gave it a go. Let's see what it does, and that's so far it's still following it. I mean, I hope we are 26,000 for Bitcoin by, I don't know what date this is because TradingView is not showing me, but I believe it's like August, September or something like that. So wow. If this happens, it would be amazing. But you get deviations like it happened here, for example.
Of course.
We can just move sideways and then go like this. So you never know. But so far it's looking great. And again, these are just mathematical progressions that derivate from past price action.
Yes.
And it's all it is. It's nothing more than that. It's funny because at some point people talk about a lot about manipulation. I don't believe in manipulation as it is right now because I have a lot, like literally thousands of charts that with predictions many months in advance that immediately debunks any sort of manipulation. I think manipulation has to do with the time frame. I mean, if I'm here on the monthly chart, for example, there's absolutely nothing anyone can do to modify the cycle that these monthly candles need to have. Because this is a monthly candle. Do you know all of the things that can happen in 30 days in terms of price action? Absolutely. So there's no way to manipulate a monthly candle. But on the other hand, if you go to the 1 hour chart, that's a different story. That's something that you can manipulate because if I'm here and I buy like 1 million Litecoin right now, of course the price is going to shoot up in the next hour or two. But if it doesn't compute or if it doesn't have anything to do with the current cycle on the big time frames, eventually the price is going to go back to where it belongs to fulfill the cycle. So that's my stance in terms of like manipulations and stuff like that. And it happened recently with Matic, for example.
Yes.
I on my group, I told everyone to sell Matic like literally 2 days before the dump, and we rolled 500% Matic.
Wow.
But like, I told you. Let me go to 3-day. I don't know if this is for some reason it's not loading. Let me see. I tell you right now. We enter. Yep. We enter. Let me go to the daily. All right, perfect. We enter Matic here. Right here around this area. Yeah, mid-October. Why? Of course, you know why now. Bear trend, then we get a big accumulation, and we finally get the Kumo breakout. So I was, okay, this is a good, interesting trade which has potential. Of course, I had my levels here, and stuff like that. But I was going to ride that trend until it was ending. So we got a little bit of a hiccup here, but we held, and then it started going up. So then this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to ride this trend until I get a signal that this trend is going to end. So we enter here at this level, but this is where it gets interesting, around here. Around this level, on this couple days, this was a big Ikagi, like waves and particle resistance. And also there was a key date here that could signify the end of the current cycle, like on December 7th. So in order for me to protect our profits, which were 300%, and the members, I was like, all right, guys, let's close 50% of the trade here, and let's just set a stop loss for the other 50% around this area. And then the next day, like a couple days later, this happened. Of course, I didn't have a way to know this was going to happen, because whether a correction or a dump, this could have done something like this, or instead it did this. But either way, either one of those. So I knew in terms of price and time that this cycle was pretty much done. So that's what the system does. It gives you a mathematical point of view of the trend, and it doesn't have anything to do with fundamentals. It doesn't have anything to do with news. It doesn't have anything to do with any other thing than math and the cycles that the price needs to do. I mean, of course, we're not going to be right 100% of the times, but that's why we have risk management. Like I always say, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. What matters is that you protect your capital and take profits. That's all that matters. So it definitely gives you an edge, because to forecast specific dates is something that very, very few people do. And I think that for the past couple of years, I have demonstrated that it is possible to do that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I can only imagine, I know for a lot of beginner traders, the psychological element is such a pressing one, particularly when we see a coin run 300% like that. So you've just got entire faith in yourself that your system is correct. How does it feel when it gets to 250% and you're looking to squeeze that last 50% out? How does those emotions play on, I guess not so much for you now, but how do we control some of those emotions in these very volatile environments when our emotions are high and we're looking for more and more and more, and then we get to a point like this where we get burnt if we held on for too long? How do we emotionally manage some of our baggage, in your opinion?
The only way is to make mistakes. It's the only way you learn. For example, one of my biggest flaws that I didn't overcome that until recently, and recently I mean last year, was to take profit.
Yes.
I can say that I'm very good at, understanding trends and getting bottoms and stuff like that. I'm really good at that. But when it comes to take profit, I always take, greed used to take over me. Like, but what if I sell here and then the price pumps 10% more?
Yes.
I'm going to miss that after I wrote 90%. I'm here at 300%, and I'm like, what if this really moves and it does 1,000%? So the way Ikagi helped me with that was in two ways. First, the dates. More and more, I'm steering away from trading price action, and I'm trading dates. And because with price action, you cannot be as accurate as, at least from my end, as I am with dates. With dates, my accuracy level is between 85 and 94% of pivots. So I'm leaning, and I just realized that since I am more accurate calculating dates, then I'm gonna trade dates. So that helped me a lot, because that helped me overcome that lack of patience. Like, should I sell here? Should I wait? Should I buy now? Should I buy later? So if you know the exact day the price is going to pivot, then you don't have to worry about everything, about anything else. It just happened with Bitcoin. For example, here, I went away for 2 weeks on vacation around mid-December. It was around here. And all of this time, and I came back by the end of December. So these were like painful 30, 40 days or something like that. The Bitcoin moved sideways for a lot of time. And all of my members, they were getting desperate, like literally desperate. Like, why are we not taking a position? Should we short? Should we long? Should we short? Should we long? And I was like, listen, guys, you gotta wait. It's not the moment to trade, because the cycle says that around the week of the 6th is when we can get a pivot. So you just wait. Why would you enter on a trade here only to get chopped up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down? The idea is you optimize your trading abilities and your money by investing just at the right moment with the pivot is going to happen. And this is exactly what happened. Around January 4th, 2 days before, I told them, let's set a condition, because we missed the 68. I told them about 65, but I didn't tell them 68. So I was like, let's set a conditional order around 72, 74. On the 6th, the price should move. And that's exactly what happened. After 40 days, the price started moving exactly on the 6th. So when you start to see that over and over and over and over, it's such a relief to understand, okay, from the 13 until the 22, I'm not going to trade, because I know the price is not going to do anything. And literally, I have spent like an entire week without looking at the chart, and I'm sleep like a baby. Then I come a week after, and the price is still at the same level. So it's really crazy the way this twists your perception of how the price behaves in relation to time, and the two of them are very tied together. But
so if you were looking, as this is a full-time thing for you, if you're looking on 4-hour time frames or 1-hour time frames or scalping, are you still using Ichimoku on those lower time frames and looking for confluence of the Tenkan, Kijin, and Chiku, breaching through the cloud? Or are you looking for other things like cloud bounces or Kumo bounce or Tenkan bounce? Are you looking at any other of those things on smaller time frames?
Always the same. Always the same. Every single time is the same indicator and the same system. Even the formulas that I have for the price action and the pivots, they were beautiful on the 4-hour too. The problem is this, and that happens with any type of technical analysis. The bigger the time frame, the more reliable the analysis is going to be.
Yes.
The lower you go on the time, then the accuracy decreases a lot. That percentage of 85 to 94% on the daily pivots, that's for the daily. If I go to the 4-hour, that percentage drops immediately, like to 60 or 70% on the pivots, even though it's the same math, but you have a lot more noise. And what we were talking about, it's easier to manipulate market. If I go to the 1-hour, then those pivots, they still work, but then the accuracy of the pivots telling you that the price is going to reverse, the accuracy of those pivots, they go down considerably, like to 50% or something like that.
Yeah.
And the same happens with Ichimoku. With Ichimoku, for example, here, here we're trending. This is a bull signal. This is a bear signal. This is a bull signal. This is a bear signal, and this is a bull signal, all in the span of, I don't know, a few days.
Yes.
So again, the smaller time frame, the less reliable the indicators are. So if you go to the monthly chart, that's a different story. Like I said, it's the signals are going to be more true to everything. For example, this is a great signal for Bitcoin right now. I know the market is ranging. The Chiku is hanging under the price right now, but all it takes is a few months of the price going sideways to get above the price again. The Tenkan here, it's going to try to do another TK cross and we just had a bullish Kumo TQ cross for Bitcoin. So all of this price action getting under the Kumo could just still be more accumulation until the price finally breaks out again and resumes the bull trend. So, and this is going to be a 1,000 times harder to fake, to get a really bad signal. You can clearly see here how 10K was the time to short. You get a fake out with all these crazy wicks, but you see, the price was not able to close above the Kijun. And then here we rejected that and we started going down. So there was a clear short. And it's more reliable because there's less noise on the bigger time frames.
Yeah. So really it's just a matter of looking at the macro overview, using Ichimoku to find the trend, jumping in perhaps on the smaller time frames if that's what you want to do. And then really, as you said, one of the biggest skills for 2020 is just having patience for a trader and not worrying about the noise and simply just worrying about the overall trend rather than the intra trades that we're trying to make and get too caught up in it.
Yeah. Also something else I need to I really tell people all the time that I think it's good to talk about here. It's like the only way to understand your trading style is by trading. I have met unbelievable good traders. They only do scalps and they're amazingly good with it. And then I have met also people that only do swing trades and they just can't scalp. They're amazingly good at swings, but they suck at scalping. And some people are good investors. Some people are better day traders. Some people are better 50-minute traders. The only way to understand and that is by trading and by knowing yourself. And it takes time. It doesn't happen in 5 minutes. I mean, what happened in 2017, it's because the people that got to the space in 2017, they literally caught the start of the bull run. But I mean, it was a luck by then. But trading, it's like 80% ranging and 20% it's up and down. So it's patient is the name of the game. And it's very important to be patient. And to also another thing, well, they need to know themselves in order to do that. You really need to know yourself instead of following other people blindly. Because what happens is if other people make mistakes, you are going to make those mistakes and you won't know why they happen. But if you start trading by yourself and making your own mistakes, then you will understand actually why the trade went wrong. And that's super important in order to know yourself.
That relates well to what you've got inside your Twitter profile, Teme Noshe, which means know thyself. So I think it's so accurate with that. It's just a matter of knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses and playing to your strengths.
Totally, 100%.
That's excellent. That's incredible. So the fact that you use other things like Gann and Fibonacci obviously is a very important part of this system as well. Would you be using or looking at the Fibonacci indicator at all? Or have you really just now really eliminated 90% of other things that you would find on TradingView? It's really just a matter now focusing on waves and particles of these Gann pivots and Ichimoku.
Oh yeah, I stopped doing Fibonacci because Bob, when I was studying Gann, when you build a Gann box, this Gann box is right here. Let's take an example.
Yeah, some of these master Ganns that you have posted are phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was studying Gann used to build these Gann boxes, and they use the Fibonacci ratios. I only have the 50% here and here, but they have the Fibonacci ratio here. I just turn them off, but I didn't use this one because I think it was a little bit too complicated, too busy for my taste. I like things simple. Yes. So I started to build my own boxes from scratch. Like, for example, the one you can see here.
Yeah.
This is a long-term master Gann box. They are created for the next 5 years. For some reason, let me open in a new tab to see if it's better. So this is going to give me basically a guide of the main trends and dates, as you can see here, and price levels that the price is going to follow for the next few years. So by doing this manually, I started to notice where the most important levels were for the price. And then, of course, I had to go back to the drawing board, and I started plotting formulas, like formulas with the Ichimoku numbers, with Fibonacci, with Gann, with Wyckoff, with Ellie waves, with the golden ratio. The golden ratio is amazingly important for the price action.
Yes.
It's just crazy how it is. So, and actually, I can show you a quick example here.
Please.
How crazy the golden ratio is. You know, are you familiar with the phi number?
Yes.
1.618.
Yes.
Okay, that's a golden ratio number. The golden number, you can say that. Okay, so this is something, this is common knowledge. This is 100% gone. You can clearly see it. The top here, you can see that it was, let me just make this a little bit bigger in case people don't see numbers. You can see it's 19819. So if we click here, 19819. Let's divide that into 10 to make it easier to work with. That's going to be 1981.9. If we take that number, 0.9, and let's see, and we get the calculator here, 1981. All right, 1981 times, all right, 1981 times the golden number, 1.618, you're going to get 3181, no, 3205.5, right?
Wow.
If we want to see where the number is, calculate 3205, there you go, let's buy the dollar.
Wow.
So
wow.
By knowing this, you would have known here on December 17th that this was going to be the most important level for Bitcoin to bounce from. It's a golden ratio.
Phenomenal. Wow.
In relationship to this top. And by the way, this is not the first time this happens for Bitcoin. It has happened in the past many times. So that tells you right there how important numbers are. And people, you know, banging their heads. Is this a bottom? Is this a bottom? Is this a bottom? And so this tells you how crazy the mathematical system of the universe influences the chart.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter the amount of news or what people say or whatever. It's just the way it is. It's just a way to keep everything, the chaos in order.
Wow,
So,
and that's incredible. and that sort of goes back to order ab chao, which you've got there, which is chaos out of order. So that makes a whole lot of sense as well. Because I will admit, when I first came across your profile, and I think the first thing I ever saw from you was a master Gann pivot, and this is going back quite a long time ago now, and I really didn't put much weight on it, I will admit, and that was foolish on my behalf, because the more I've started following you and reading what you have posted, all of this starts to make more sense. And then some other traders that I respect are starting to delve a little bit into Gann and pivots and everything.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, all right, there's got to be something on this, that this really has some power. And then I guess this is a lot of what your students are going to be learning inside Ikagi. Is that correct?
100%. Yeah, 100%. That's because that goes to the question about Fibonacci numbers. So since I started working with numbers and formulas like the one you just saw, I started plotting new formulas, and I kept going at it. So I found a really strong system that gives you the strongest levels for the price action. For example, with the waves and particles system, when you're analyzing, for example, when you're analyzing here resistances and supports, you know this is a support, and you know this is a resistance because you can see here how it reacts to the price here and here. But these are not only biased, but they are also very subjective, because where is the real actual resistance? Is it going to be here?
Yes.
Is it going to be here? Is it going to be here? Or, I mean, I can see that this resistance is strong, but maybe it's not the strongest one. Maybe the price shoots right up after it, and then maybe this is this one, maybe this one. So you get into a lot of doubt, and there's nothing that can actually tells you like which one is the real deal. Like which is the price going to bounce here, or is it going to keep going down? Is this a real one at 74? It's going to go to 65. So when these formulas that I develop based on all the systems, I found a way to really mathematically calculate which are those levels. So there's absolutely no interpretation by me whatsoever, or doubt, or guessing. I just need to input a number. I just put this number here, 19819, and I will just do my calculations. And the formulas are going to tell me, okay, this one and this one and this one. These three are going to be the strongest support and resistances the price will have. So I know that in the future, if the price is around this area, for example, and I know that there is a pivot on March 9, oh my God, actually March 9 is a big pivot.
Which you did say was a major pivot, yeah.
Yeah, that was by chance that I put it there. So, but it's how it works. So if I...
Or was it?
If I know that this is a strong resistance, for example, and we're near a pivot, and the price is around this area, I know the chances are extremely high that the price is going to reverse at that point. And then on top of that analysis, you can add Ichimoku, and then you can add a few indicators. And basically what you build is a strong, educated guess based on confluence of data that gives you ability to be right most of the time, and it's really hard to be wrong.
Well, that's what's
so beautiful. If you're wrong by any chance,
this.
Because it can be, then you will have a stop loss, and then you will understand and stuff like that. And then the other part comes from just experience. Right now, for example, on the 4 hour, this is the 4 hour. No, this is the 1 day.
The numbers don't lie, as they say. There's no bias in math, which I absolutely love. There's no emotional connection to it. It's purely just the number.
100%. There's no emotion involved whatsoever there. Not at all. Zero. And that's the beauty of it. Right now, for example, we long, like I told you, my swing traders, they probably long around here, and around this area. They're still holding. For the scalpers, they close here. We shorted this, we long this, and right now we're in a short. And this is all based, again, on math and pivots and price levels. We know, for example, 82 is a strong mathematical level. So I go to Twitter and I try to see, I don't follow anyone's analysis, only a handful of people, 2 or 3 top. But, and then I see some people saying, okay, 83 is a strong resistance, or maybe 8050 is a good support and stuff like that. And those are great ideas and they can be close. But I know that the actual mathematical level pertinent to this movement right here is 8200. And that's going to give you, and you can clearly see what has happened in the past few days. See a reaction here, and reaction here. And that's the strongest level. But we knew that beforehand, and that's what's great about it. And yep.
I'm going to go back to the drawing board.
Like I told you, it works for every time frame. You can do it on the weekly. I mean, on the weekly, you can plot the numbers here and you will get the levels, or you can go to the 50 minutes. And if you want to scalp, then you can do the same. You will get this top, you will get this bottom, and then you just need to find your levels and go with it. So right now it's like here. Yeah,
you've been studying math and you've been studying geometry and physics and ancient history for what I believe is the better part of 2 decades. When did you discover that there was this correlation? I guess, when did you start getting into trading, I suppose? And when was this aha moment where it's like, listen, I can actually use some of these skills that I developed to apply to my trading? Was there a point where you remember where you thought, well, this is a perfect marriage?
This one right here. This chart is from 2019 because I did it in TradingView, but this chart actually I had it on Coinity from 2016. Yeah. This was the aha moment for me because I was working on this chart. It was around here, August 2016. I clearly remember. And I was plotting the trend lines from the past. Like I just wanted to see which were the most important trend lines from the past to understand potential action of the price in the future. So I just tried to go like, top to top, this bottom from this top. And as I was plotting them, I realized that these look very similar to one of those 3D meshes when you're building something into 3D space, like a plane.
Yes.
So that was very interesting to me because I thought to myself, like, so why is such a random thing like price action create something as symmetrical as the space between these lines, for example? And why are they all converging around this area and then they expand onto the future? So that's when I started asking about that. I have always been really curious about how stuff works and why it works. So basically I had these trend lines for the future and I started following 2016, 2017, and I noticed how they were, bouncing from each one of the quadrants. And that's how I was going to able to mark the top between $17,000 and $19,000 around November 2017. That was my top because I didn't have any more trend lines. And I was like, this is a parabolic move. So I don't have anywhere to go unless we go back in time. So I figured back then, and you can see even for the future, how they still relevant for the price action nowadays.
100%.
Right now, so it was at this moment when I really wanted to understand the mathematical implications behind this supposed random action of the price, because there's nothing random about it. It is clearly following a set of rules. So I set out to find which those rules were. So far, I cannot tell you that I found the holy grail because I don't believe in that you ever stop learning. And I do believe that you can get better and better and better. That's a very Japanese thing about craftsmanship, that you can always get better. So I research every single day that I have. I'm still researching new ideas, new formulas, new numbers and stuff. But so far, I think that I have come across to a system that it's really good when it comes to forecast and understand how the price works in time. And so this definitely was the chart. This was the aha moment. Like, okay, there's something here. Let's go and find it.
There's no denying there's something there. As I said to you beforehand, you've completely changed the way you were. In fact, the reason why wow, look at that. Yeah, you were the reason why I started trading with Ichimoku in the first place, and nice. You've completely changed the way that I look at the market. So as we mentioned, Ikagi is the fundamental system that you put together from all of your knowledge and research, which you created and released last year. I've seen some of the testimonials from that, which are mind-blowing, how regular people like myself are coming in and learning certain things and completely changing their mentality to trading. So you've given us a pretty decent snippet here. Are there any other things or major things that new students could learn to expect, or does that cover the breadth of it? Or as you said, it's always sort of adapting and changing depending on what you learn and what you're seeing in the market, in the universe, I suppose. Is that right?
Yeah. With the system, I really focus on teaching people how to forecast. But honestly, that's like 10% of what it means to be a trader.
Yeah.
And it's ironic, but the last thing we learn as traders is about risk management. And that should be, ironically, it should be the opposite. So most of the contents of the course are geared towards teaching people how to forecast time and price action. But in reality, the big portion of it is to teach them proper, strategies and proper ways to trade. Because at the end of the day, all you need to do is just protect your capital. And you will hear me say that all the time, because even with the best system that you can have as an analyst, things can go wrong and nothing is certain. It's a very subjective thing. Some days you will wake up with a clear mind. Other day you will wake up stressed out or worried or anxious, and that will impact the way you do analysis. But one thing that doesn't change regardless of your feelings is risk management. Because risk management is going to tell you okay, if you're entering here, this is how much you're gonna risk, and this is gonna be your stop loss, and this is gonna be your profit area. And that doesn't change. That should be always like that. That's what you should be disciplined about it. So I figured that a lot of people need mentorship and need guidance with that.
Yeah.
And I realized that even though it is amazing to understand these cycles and it is mind blowing to see how they react in time, the biggest change I have seen in people is when they tell me like, oh my God, it's unbelievable. I haven't lost money in months, or now I know how to take profit. Now I know how to be patient. And all of that compound knowledge ends up making them better traders by default. So in the end, you will end up being a better trader with the tools to understand how cycles work and forecast time and price action. And with the two of them together, it's definitely less of a burden to be a trader, and it's easier to really trade in a proper way. At least not one that you're going to lose money, but consistently take profit and profit and profit.
Yeah, and we touched on this a moment ago, and you've mentioned this a few times throughout the chat now. And one of your Twitter posts recently, which I just mentioned a moment ago, was you said patience is the most important skill to develop if you want to be a successful trader in 2020. Very few people understand when is the right moment to take action. And now you've spoken about taking profit. Is there one other skill, or would that sort of be your top three things that you would suggest to traders to get on top of for 2020 to be more successful this year? Patience, risk management, taking profit. Anything else that you would suggest?
I think I'm gonna lay it out. I think it's if you're patient, if you know yourself, meaning you have the ability to develop a good strategy that adapts to your personality in terms of entering a trade, taking profits, et cetera. And you're patient, like I said, and you have, the basic skills, at least with Ichimoku, like we mentioned, to understand trends and stuff like that, you can do really good with anything. It's just, it is what it is. It's not harder than that. Someone told me to look at Bitcoin Cash, like a few hours ago. And I just look at it, and the first thing that I noticed, okay, downtrend. This is what I told you. See this bottom here? We got a bull signal here, but it failed. So this doesn't mean that this signal is invalid. It is valid, but this signal meant in this case was accumulation. If you look carefully, none of the bottoms after that signal were lower than this one. So this was an accumulation signal, not a bull signal. So what happened right now, okay, Bitcoin Cash accumulated. Then we get another bull signal here. And now the price breached the Kumo, the Tenkan, the Kijun, and the Chiku with a bullish ticket cross.
A lot of good signals there.
So this is a very bullish signal right now for Bitcoin Cash because it's coming out of a long accumulation and a bull signal here, and possibly what we can call a double bottom. Gann says also that December 2018, basically December 2019, Gann says that you should never ignore like double bottoms that has at least 6 months to 1 year of gap between each other. The strong signal that the trend might be changing. So what do we do with this? Oh, that easy. We just get all of the bull signals. Let me make this bigger so people can see it too. We just get all of the signals that we were expecting for our trade. So we just enter here. So everything is looking good. We just enter here and you wait. If the price, of course, reaches this area, probably that means it's going to keep going down. But as long as the price stays above the Kumo, then in theory, this should do something. like this, probably.
Wow.
If I need to take a guess on it. And it's just based, and this is just based on Ichimoku. This is not taking dates. This, like I said, Ichimoku this is the beauty of Ichimoku. It's super easy. It's super easy. I mean, this thing is like, let me see, 82% from the top.
Yeah.
It's a very safe trade. This is where you want to get on an ass. You're basically getting on the bottom of it with a really good, strong signal in terms of Ichimoku trends. So I would say that this is a very safe trend. And if I want to see pivots, for example, there's a huge gap here that's probably going to mess up with the pivots, but you can see it here. How many candles? So we have here 890 candles. Yeah, this is probably there's going to be a pivot candle right here on January 20th. Probably the start of this trend will be after January 20th. Now, whether if it's, like I said, but if it goes like here and then it goes like this, or if it goes like here, held by the Kumo, or if you just go right away at it, then that depends on your trading strategy and your personal, ideas. Because for some, it's just a matter of scalping, and they're happy with just a little bit of percentage here, and that's it, they're out. And for some people, it's just buying spot, doing a swing trade, buying here, just forget about it for a few months or a year. And then you have the potential to have a trade. Oh, this is time. The potential for this trade is a trade that can go at least, 600%, 700%. I mean,
wow,
300% if you're, conventional here. But the same thing is going to happen. There's something I forgot to tell you. Same thing is going to happen on the weekly. If the price gets above the Kumo on the weekly, you see, there was never a cycle here. So the only thing the price did was just go down. So if the price gets out, the Chiku and the Tenkan and the Kijun, then this is going to be signaling a bull trend on the weekly. So you will ride that until that ends, and it will be the same scenario for Ichimoku. So, and what I wanted to say, I keep forgetting, it's that all of the time frame, all of the analysis need to make sense across all time frames. You need to build a narrative, because if we go to Bitcoin really quick here, and if I go to the monthly candle, I can see, okay, this could be accumulation. It makes sense for the price to go up and maybe be rejected here and go down. Okay, I know that on the monthly, perfect. Then you go to the weekly. And then on the weekly, you see the same. You see, okay, this is going to be a strong resistance, but definitely the price have the potential to break it and hang around and maybe go down and break here. That makes sense too. If you go to the daily, the same thing is going on here. The price is breaking the Kumo. We have a bullish ticket Kumo twist. The Tenkan and the Kijun is trying to go out of the Kumo 2, and the Chiku, as usual, is going to be the last one. But this is gearing up into building a momentum where the price can go up. So if all of the time frames are in sync and they're all telling the same story and the same narrative, then you have strong probability to be right and make a good trade. But if in other case you have something telling you on the weekly and then something else on the 1 day and then a different thing on the monthly, then there's a disconnection there, which means that either you're not reading properly the trend, or it's not a good moment for that trade to take place.
That is really, really good advice. And I think a lot of traders omit that from their strategy. They simply just get stuck on a single time frame, then rather than trying to look for confluence amongst other higher time frames and sort of start high and make their way down. So that's a phenomenal piece of advice.
Totally, 100%. Thank you very much. And many people get lost in the small time frame. For example, according to Gann, again, this is common knowledge, anything that is above the 50% is a great opportunity to trade. Anything that is below 50% is not a good trade. So if the price gets above 10K, then it's going to be the start for an amazingly bull trend. So by default, anything that's happening between 10K and 6K, it's just time to accumulate and to get into your positions. And, you know, understand that might be time, you know, to enter into a good trade, but still it's not confirmed. But if you enter into a nice breakout and retest of 10K, that will signify a change in the trend, and then a bull signal is coming. So in reality, if you're trying to think about investment for a long term, like anything under 10K is risky because it's not a confirmed trend, bull trend, but it's just a great place to enter. Even if you enter at 10K, then you will be entering a confirmation for a bull trend. But people get too lost on the small time frames. And
yes.
I think that's a byproduct of trying to get rich quickly.
Yes.
I mean, people think that if they go to 4 hour and they're like, okay, I like the signals here, let me enter right now because this is a bull flag, then people think that the price is going to do this in 2 4-hour candles. And even though it can happen, it just doesn't happen like that. I mean, you need to build your momentum up to that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to distinguish as to whether they're traders or investors in an asset. Are you looking to make money, or are you looking to make long-term investments in something like this? So yeah, that's very apt. We do get too caught up in the smaller timeframes and the noise and thinking it's a way out from our lives by getting rich quick.
Yep, totally, 100%.
So a little bit off topic now, there's a lot of positivity that comes from your Twitter. I think with a lot of the bigger accounts, there are times where there's a little bit of negativity or things that sort of get said that you question. You are so consistent. You are so polite and courteous, and there's never any, I guess I would say, bullshit that ever comes from your account. Now, where does this positivity come from? You know, and I notice in your, and I could completely butcher this, you've got 432 in your Twitter bio, which, correct me if I'm wrong, sort of relates to releasing any negative energy that has a hold on you. Is that correct?
It is correct. Yeah, it comes from that.
Yeah. So where does this positivity come from, and what keeps you grounded and happy?
I mean, I get to some of these guys on Twitter that when you say like that, they have bullshit or they're mean or something like that. Most of it comes from being young guys. Even though I don't consider myself old, I noticed that I'm old by the crypto standards. I mean, I'm 35. Yeah. And I mean, some of these kids, they're like 22, 25, 20 years old, sometimes even less than that. Some others are like entering into adulthood, like real adulthood, and responsibilities by being 30 years old and stuff like that. But I think that helps, first of all, being mature, like to understand that there's just some things that are not worth it. And then the second thing is like, I really have a mindset of positivity, and I don't want to say karma per se, but I do believe that if you have the power to do something that it's going to change the status quo, at least for one person, then you're helping the universe or anywhere around you by doing that. And I think it has to do with legacy, basically. I mean, when you look back in your life at the end of it and you think, okay, what am I leaving behind? At least you would expect to leave the world a little bit better than what it was when you were here. So that's basically my motto. Like, and I love to teach. I have to say that I have always teach. I'm self-taught. This is my third career when I'm self-taught. I was an advertising photographer for almost 20 years. I learned by myself too. And when I started learning a lot, the first thing that I started doing was to teach, and and create blog posts and start talking in forums. I really take pleasure and enjoy on helping others. I really see as an opportunity to help people, because I mean, not all the time the information is easily accessible or people have time to research that. When it happened, when I was studying photography, there were only like 3 websites with the information about photography. That was back in 2000 or 1998, something like that. And there were not many resources. So I have to figure most of the things either by myself or books. So when I started hanging around in forums or internet groups and stuff like that, I was like, I know this is not easy, so I don't have a trouble telling people how did I learn to do this. And it's the same that I'm doing nowadays with with trading. Of course, in this case it's different because I'm investing a lot of my time and in what I'm doing and teaching and preparing and helping other guys. So of course I have life and responsibilities and all of that. And that's basically the reason you charge the course, because you're investing your time for something that you're sharing. Sadly, I'm not wealthy to give away the information for free, but time is value. So it all comes from that. It's the joy to teach and help others more than anything else. And that, I think that reflects on my Twitter handle, on the things that I say. I'm just trying as much as I can to share positivity and to help others. Some people, sometimes you're in a place when you don't know what to do, and it's really nice to see a helping hand, because at the end of the day, we're alone. And to find someone that is helping you without expecting something in return, just gives you a smile every day. So that's basically where it all comes from. Yeah.
Great answer. I love that. That's so refreshing. So refreshing. So I want to also talk to you about some of your habits and routines that might fit in with what you've just mentioned there. Because there was one part that you had mentioned where you spend at the start of every year, you take a look at Steve Jobs' commencement speech, 2005 commencement speech at Stanford University. Are there some other non-negotiables for you at the start of the year, or other things that you like to do, whether it be on a start of the year or a daily basis, to sort of keep you accountable to yourself and to keep you on track and to develop some good habits?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always reading stuff like that. I'm always trying to grow as a person. I think like when you try to, the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know nothing, basically. So I'm always trying to read new stuff and understand, go in depth for the things that I really already know, and learn new things. So I'm constantly trying to learn something new. I'm constantly trying to, get better and improve the things that I do currently. But the first time that I saw that video was when it came out, actually in 2005. And for some reason, it resonated with me a lot. So I make sure to see it from time to time, because it reminds me what really matters. And what really matters, especially nowadays, the world has become a little bit more shallow, because of course social media and the internet, and even though it has bring a lot of great positivity and amazing things in the democratization of information for the masses, that comes with a price too. And sometimes we get distracted by it. I mean, we get angry because we cannot get a $60,000 car but $30K one, or we get angry because we cannot go out today, or we don't have money for vacation. And sometimes that makes us forget what really matters in life and the substance. And it comes back to what I was telling you earlier about being positive. Like, what are you going to leave behind? Like, in the words that he says they're amazing, because he's like, for a few days in a row, you look at the mirror, you don't feel comfortable and you don't like what you're doing. That's your gut, that's your instinct telling you that you should change something. But I was talking about it on the group a few days ago. Most of the primal emotions that we have is fear. It literally comes from the hypothalamus. It's an instinct, and it's one of the strongest ones in humans. It's psychologically, fear doesn't let us do a lot of things. Like, that's why when I post a chart of the golden ratio sometimes on Twitter, people laugh at it and they believe it's stupid and stuff like that. It's just a byproduct of fear, because we fear what we don't understand. It's just that some of us are actually excited, aroused about curiosity. And some of us are just actually get passionate about things that we don't know But most people actually is the opposite. When you don't know stuff, you get comfortable. When you don't know what the outcome is going to be, when you don't know where that road is going to take you, you get fear. So most people don't take action. They don't, they don't evaluate. They don't take action. And that helps a lot back of the things that you can accomplish and you can do. So by knowing, like in the words of Steve Jobs, by being in front of death, like that makes you think like you're naked. It doesn't matter what people are going to say. It doesn't matter what people are going to, but they might think you're an asshole. They might think you're an idiot. They might think you're crazy, but it doesn't matter. None of their opinions matters. Do whatever you're doing. So you should do things that makes you happy and things that you're passionate about, because it's there when you find purpose. And when you find purpose, you find happiness because you're doing things from the bottom of your heart. And that video, every time I see it, it just reminds me that, to just forget about the trivial things and really focus on the things that are most important to me in my life. And it's just a reminder to keep in focus and, keep going at it.
Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. Thank you, man. Awesome.
Thank you, Vincent. I really appreciate that.
So I want to be respectful of your time. So I'll just ask you a few rapid fire questions now. They don't need too long answers. You can just sort of give us short, quick ones. So saw you tweeting the other day from the golf course. That's obviously something that you love. Handicap. What's the golf handicap? And maybe what's one of the favorite courses you've played on before?
Oh my God. Wow. My favorite course ever. There are two of those. But I would say there's one in Playa del Carmen in Mexico. It's called Mayacoba. They're actually going to play a PGA Tour Championship in a few days there. That course is one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen, and the most, it's unbelievable. And then it's another one in Dominican Republic called Punta Espada. That one follows the beach. So every single hole, you have a view of the ocean. It's again, beautiful, tough. It's amazing. In terms of handicap, well, that sucks, man. A couple of years ago, I used to be a 3 handicap, but in the past couple of years, with all the research and trading and being in front of the computer, I literally played like 6-7 times in the past year and a half. So it went up considerably. Right now, I'm sitting at 8.2. Wow. Still good.
Still pretty good. Better than most.
Yeah, but I miss playing. So I took a couple of weeks in December and I played a few times, and it was refreshing. I really needed that.
Yeah, you went to. Did you get any holes in the Caribbean? Did you get any games in at the Caribbean? You went to the Caribbean over December?
Yeah, I went to Dominican Republic actually. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, favorite book or books?
Favorite book or books. I must say, well, I'm going to tell you this is the one that I'm reading right now. There's one called Quadrivium. I'm probably going to share the name with you recently. And it's called The 4 Classical Liberal Arts of Numbers, Geometry, Music, and Cosmology.
Is that from Miranda Lundy?
It is, I don't know. Let's see. It is from... I don't see if it says here where it is from. No, I don't think so.
I think you had shared a picture of it a little while ago where you were reading it, and it relates around a lot of Gann theory. Is that correct?
I have, but it doesn't say who is the writer. Let me see. I mean, not at a first glance. I have to look that for it, but I can share a picture with you. Yeah. In that book, it's unbelievable because I came around this book recently, but basically in the book, it's like a Bible. It's 400 pages, but inside the pages is everything, every piece of knowledge I had to find to put together the system.
Wow.
It's just coded, but it's there. Like the math, it talks about planets, it talks about numerology, it talks about music, it talks about a crazy amount of things. For example, this is a crazy fact, and it also blows people's mind. He, the Plateau created the musical notes by using Fibonacci sequences. Basically, he created
Wow.
he created the notes by dividing them, like a quarter of do is me, and half ratio of the other one is another one. So interestingly enough, the ratio between the musical notes is the same ratio of the distance between the planets and the sun, the same ones. They share this exact same ratio. If you go and look at it online and you literally write down like uh, ratio, musical notes, and planets, you will see a few pictures where they show you the comparison between the ratios and the distance between the nodes and the evaporations and the planets and the sun.
Wow.
And that tells you a lot of how the math of the universe works around everything that we know and touch and feel and see.
Absolutely.
So the books talks about stuff like that in ancient geometry, and there's a lot of math in there. So it's very interesting from a perspective in terms of trading, in terms of knowledge, like historical knowledge is great, but in terms of trading, there's a lot of formulas and interesting things that I think anyone can apply into trading from that book.
And there was another book that I saw you recommend a little while ago called The Tunnel Through the Air. Is that another book that you would recommend as well?
That's the most important book from Gann. That's when you're studying Gann, that's a like the holy grail of books that he wrote. Yeah. In it, he supposedly he wrote that book in code to represent everything like he found and understood from the Bible. But it's a very cryptic book. Actually, it says on the back of it that you need to read that book at least 3 times before you can take anything out of it.
Yes.
But if you're into that, it is a great book too. There's a lot of hidden nuggets in there too.
Yeah. And this is a pretty big question, but where do you see the crypto space in the next 5 years with all the research and things that you've done? Where do you think we're going to be in the next half decade perhaps?
I actually had an interview for a blog a couple of days ago, and they asked me the same question. I do believe that the blockchain technology has the power to really change the status quo on most of the things that we know today. Agreed. And I do believe that they are going to be a major player in the future of technology and the way we do things, like financially, personal records, privacy. But with everything, I don't think it is something that is going to take 1 year or 2, not even 10. Probably this is something that we're going to see come to fruition in the next 10, 20 years. Yeah. So I think it has all the potential to disrupt a lot of things. And I think it is doing it already. The fact that Bitcoin price shoot up exactly on the day the possible war with Iran happened, it's a great indication of how people are looking at it as a store of value. And by being the first and not be controlled or created by a specific entity or company that we know of, then I think it's going to be very resilient and it's going to make the rounds. In terms of price, this is a very hard question because it's been going up forever, but considering the fundamentals and the fact that every day there's going to be less Bitcoins for all of us, it's an deflationary asset. It should keep going up a lot. Then how far it's going to go up, that's a $1 million question. But I'm very positive, and I have a lot of hope for the blockchain space. But at the same time, I think things need to get like a little bit, perch, because there's a lot, being a privacy technology and being accessible to many people to create stuff, there's a lot of scams, and that sometimes make me a little bit sad, because there's a lot of people that get sucked in by the eyes and the lure of greed.
Yes.
And they make them easy targets to get scammed by people without, any soul whatsoever. But I think that a lot of that needs to go away. But I think it's just a natural progression of things. And probably like everything in life is needed to keep cycles and everything in balance.
100%. And if you could go back and talk to yourself, maybe slap yourself when you first started trading, in my case, perhaps, what are some of the things that you would say, or what's the one piece of advice you would give yourself the second you looked at a chart and decided this was something for you?
Take profit.
Well
I'm
said.
telling you that was so hard for me. I mean, I'm telling you, it was until I developed the system that I learned how to take profit. I mean, it's countless times. I was like 100%, 200%, 200%. The first time that I actually did it was in 2017. I sold every single crypto I had when Bitcoin was 17K. But then at the beginning of 2018, I put a lot of money into a few ICOs and a few odds because I was still trying to define the cycles and stuff like that. So I lost a little bit of it. Thankfully, I had a pretty good understanding about risk management back then, and I got out, really good. But my loss was minor in terms of my whole portfolio. But definitely, it was take profit. It's the hardest thing to do. I think it is even harder than buying a bottom, because when something is really down, it's really hard for people to buy. But I mean, if you don't buy, you're not losing anything. You're just missing an opportunity to make money. But when the prices are at the top and you don't take profit, I mean, things can turn ugly really quick. You can go from being 150% in profit to being 80% down, and that's the worst that can happen. That's the worst it can. And of course, in terms of trading, we also need to talk about security. That's the biggest issue too. And that's where I think the space needs to grow a little bit more to offer better tools and education. Like I always say, education. We need to help educate people and how to take care of their holdings, how to trade safely, and 2FAs and risk management in terms of your wallets and stuff like that. Because man, it's just a wild west out there with hacks and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. I really, really appreciate it. This has been an absolute pleasure for me, a real gift. So thank you. If people want to learn a little bit more about you and the Ikagi system and everything that Cryptosays, where can they find you?
Twitter and the website. Twitter, anytime, I'm always there, almost 24/7. Also the Discord, it's open right now. I can share you the link. I have a few channels there. I don't update that as much as I update Twitter because I mostly do it for the members. But basically Twitter and the website. Those are the two best options. The website to learn more about the system and the details of it, and then Twitter for anything else.
Yep. And we will link to all of that in the show notes as well. Just for those listening, it's www.theikagisystem.com and at Cryptosays on Twitter. Again, man, thank you so much for this. This has been a real pleasure. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
The pleasure is mine, my friend. Thank you very much. I cannot tell you how much I enjoy this, and I thank you for giving me the space to have a really, really nice conversation. It was really great.
For more information on this episode and more, visit unitytradinggroup.com.